Hello everyone! I want to start this episode by just seeing how you are. I know at this time we are in somewhat of uncharted waters and everyone is experiencing something different, but we are also experiencing many of the same things. I know it is a stressful and uncertain time for many people. I truly want to know, how are you doing? Let me know in the comments or send me a message privately if you prefer. I want you to know you are not alone. I am here for you and others are there for you as well. I had a request to do a new episode of this series and I thought what better time than now, because I think we could all use some uplifting and positivity right now. While some of these stories may not be completely up to date as things are changing on a day-to-day, sometimes hourly basis, I did my best to bring you some timely, positive news. So here we go. Starting with some positive updates on the COVID-19 outbreaks from around the world. I found this on the Good News Network. U.S. researchers delivered the first COVID-19 vaccine to volunteers in an experimental test program. Scientists at the Kaiser Permanente Washington Research Institute in Seattle delivered the first rounds of a potential coronavirus vaccine to several dozen optimistic volunteers. One 43-year-old vaccine recipient is Jennifer Haller, who is a mother to 2 teenagers. She was all smiles afterward, telling AP reporters she was, quote, feeling great, end quote, as she was leaving the clinic. Quote, this is an amazing opportunity for me to do something, end quote, she added. And then I have some other updates that I found after I did my initial research. In Boston, they are using a drug that treats malaria to treat COVID-19. Boston Medical Center is using the drug chloroquine, I believe is how you say it, to treat patients with coronavirus. They said it appears to stem inflammation and may decrease the virus's ability to reproduce. Health experts pointed out that more testing is needed to see how effective the drug could be. And another promising update is that the FDA has approved the use of the first rapid diagnostic test that could detect coronavirus in 45 minutes. Quote, during this time of increased demand for hospital services, clinicians urgently need an on-demand diagnostic test for real-time management of patients being evaluated for admission to healthcare facilities, said Dr. David Persing, MD, Chief Medical and Technology Officer at Cepheid. So, 2 promising updates. One, that testing could be quicker and more efficient. The other is that they are working on treatments for coronavirus. Another positive update is that distilleries across the United States are making their own hand sanitizers to give away for free. Amidst national shortages of hand sanitizers, alcohol distilleries in Atlanta, Portland, rural Georgia, and North Carolina, among potentially other places now, have begun using their facilities to make their own sanitation products. Another plus is that air pollution plummets in cities with high rates of quarantine. Satellite readings of air pollution levels over China and Italy show that the regions hit hardest by the COVID-19 have also caused air pollution levels to decline dramatically. Some reports estimate that China's quarantine has saved more than 100 million metric tons of carbon dioxide emissions from entering the atmosphere, which is about the equivalent that Chile produces in a year. Not only have similar effects been reported across Italy, the canals and waterways of Venice are reported cleaner than ever, with water shining crystal clear and the absence of diesel-powered boats and gondoliers. And I'm going to be mentioning a couple of different vaccines that they're working on. And the next is from Johns Hopkins, and they say that antibodies from recovered COVID patients could help protect people at risk. The vaccine being tested in Seattle isn't the only potential treatment for the disease. An immunologist from Johns Hopkins University is reviving a century-old blood-derived treatment for use in the United States in hopes of slowing the spread of the disease. The technique uses antibodies from the blood plasma or serum of people who have recovered from COVID-19 infection to boost the immunity of newly affected patients and those at risk of contracting the disease. And things have started to look a bit better in China. So China celebrates several milestones of recovery after temporary hospitals close and parks reopen. Crowds of medical staffers and discharged patients were filmed celebrating the closure of all 14 temporary hospitals that opened in Wuhan to treat COVID-19 patients during the worst of the outbreak. Authorities told the South China Morning Post that the virus had finally passed its peak as the nation's mainland experienced only 11 new cases as of March 13th, most of which were from international travelers. As the outbreak is finally brought under control, parks and tourist attractions are slowly beginning to reopen to the public under careful moderation. Australian researchers are testing 2 drugs as potential cures. At the University of Queensland Centre for Clinical Research, scientists have found that 2 different medications, both of which are registered and available in Australia, have completely wiped out traces of the disease in test tubes. Not only that, the drugs were given to some of the nation's first COVID-19 patients, which resulted in disappearance of the virus and complete recovery from infection, researchers told news.com.au. The university is now looking to conduct a nationwide trial with the drugs to evaluate the efficacy and tolerance of each drug administered separately and together. And Dutch and Canadian researchers are reporting additional breakthrough research on treating the virus. Scientists from Canada and the Netherlands have also made medical breakthroughs of their own. In Toronto, a team of researchers managed to isolate the agent responsible for the ongoing outbreak of COVID-19, which will help researchers around the world develop better diagnostic testing, treatments, and vaccines. Quote, researchers from these world-class institutions came together in a grassroots way to successfully isolate the virus in just a few short weeks, end quote, said Dr. Rob Kozak, clinical microbiologist at Sunnybrook Health Sciences Center. Quote, it demonstrates the amazing things that can happen when we collaborate, end quote. Meanwhile, Dutch researchers have submitted a scientific paper for publishing on how they have identified an antibody for the virus, and it could be a world first. So as you can see, many of these updates are on the medical field. They're working on not only vaccines, but treatments and more efficient testing. So all good things that are happening pretty quickly that will hopefully help with COVID-19 to prevent it from getting to more people, but also to prevent it in the future and just make things better for everybody. Here are a number of ways that businesses are supporting each other throughout the U.S. outbreak. Dollar General has announced that they will be devoting their opening hour of shopping time to elderly customers. And many other stores are now also following this method. I know I've seen my local grocery stores doing this. I think Walmart as well. So many of them have followed that example and are leaving their first hour of shopping open to elderly and immunocompromised people. Athletes and sports teams are pledging to pay the wages of arena employees during the shutdown. Utility companies, landlords, automakers, and internet providers are waiving a number of late fees and payments to ease the financial burden of the shutdown. School districts across the country are still opening their doors to serve meals to kids and families. So those are some of the positive updates. Now on to the stories that I found for you. This story is out of Scotland, and I found it on the Good News Network. A Scottish convenience store has given away thousands of dollars in free toilet paper, antibacterial hand wash, tissues, and anti-inflammatories to seniors staying home amidst the novel coronavirus warnings. Customers over the age of 65 and those with mobility issues can either pick up the free goods at the day-to-day convenience store in Dry Law, Edinburgh, or have the coronavirus kits delivered to their house for free by calling the shop. 34-year-old shop owner Zahid Iqbal has already given away more than 1,000 kits, and he says he hopes it sets a good example for other consumers and businesses as shop shelves have been left bare from panic buying. He is also considering making food bags with pasta and tinned goods as panic buying leaves store shelves empty and supermarkets struggle to meet demand. The idea came to Iqbal while accompanying his parents to the local supermarket, where they encountered a shocking number of empty shelves. Quote, "We have a lot of customers from the local care homes as well as disabled customers who can't get hand sanitizers, loo rolls, or anything at all," end quote. And when he says loo rolls, for the Americans, he means toilet paper. The family-run store, which currently employs 5 people, has served the local community for more than 15 years. And although they have received a flood of requests for the coronavirus kits, Iqbal believes his loyal customers are worth every penny during these times of uncertainty. Quote, "I had to get staff in to do deliveries and petrol's not included," end quote, said Iqbal. Quote, "We've done quite a few deliveries to people who can't get out. A lot of new people have been coming in, showing appreciation as well and promising they'll shop local in the future. Lots of nice gestures," end quote. Quote, "The appreciation we've been getting has been out of this world," he added. "You couldn't get this kind of satisfaction if you spent thousands of pounds. It's amazing." He said the shop has been refusing to take donations for the kits. Day to Day may reconsider accepting financial contributions in the future depending how things turn out. Quote, "Money can be made in the future," said Iqbal. "You don't want to make your money by putting your prices up in a situation like this. People will remember after all this is over. Right now, we need to do our part for the community. I think it's very important." And I'm sure you've heard similar sorts of stories from local businesses in your community. I know I have. I know many of the local small businesses have been stepping up to try to do their part and what they can to help out and make things better and easier for people, even though it might not be the easiest time for them as a business. Our next story comes from Sunny Skies. Chef Jose Andre is transforming 8 of his restaurants in New York City and Washington, D.C. into soup kitchens for those who are struggling during the coronavirus pandemic. Carry-out only meals cost $7 for guests who can't afford it. But volunteers running the kitchens will be flexible with customers who may be out of work. There's also an option to donate a meal to someone else. Quote, "Those who cannot afford to pay, we will welcome as well," Andre said in a statement. The community kitchens will operate out of the restaurant's side doors from 12 p.m. to 5 p.m. daily. Also, all of his employees are getting paid leave and current health benefits for at least the first 2 weeks. Quote, "We are in an unprecedented emergency, and as painful as it is, all restaurants, bars, etc. must be closed across America if we are to avoid what's happening in other countries. This is the only way," Andre wrote on Instagram. "In this moment, loving each other means staying away from each other. This is about we, the people. Each of us has a responsibility to act for others, not just for ourselves. We are all together in this fight." So again, another example of someone who their business might be struggling right now because of restaurants being closed down or only being able to do, takeaway meals. And here he's stepping up and doing his part to help in his communities by kind of transferring his restaurant to be very low cost or soup kitchen for those who cannot afford to pay for their meals, to make sure that everyone still has a meal and hopefully that people won't go hungry. Now on to some stories that are not related to coronavirus. Parents of children on the autism spectrum are rejoicing over this new line of shoes from Vans that have been designed specifically for kids with sensory issues. As part of the brand's Autism Awareness Collection, the 8 pairs of shoes have been developed with a focus on soothing the senses through sound, touch, and appearance. Since children with autism often have trouble tying shoelaces, the new line of sneakers is made up of slip-on models and shoes that can be fitted to the foot with a single strap hook and loop closure. Quote, "Since 1966, Vans has stood as a champion of individuality and self-expression. The brand's commitment continues with the release of sensory-inclusive footwear designs as part of the Autism Awareness Collection," end quote, said the company in a press release. Quote, "To be more inclusive to common sensory sensitivities, Vans worked with the International Board of Credentialing and Continuing Education Standards to create designs utilizing Vans' Comfy Cush technology for all-day comfort and ease of wear for adults, kids, and toddlers." The company has also pledged to donate a minimum of $100,000 in shoe sale proceeds to the A-Skate Foundation, a nonprofit dedicated to teaching children with autism how to skateboard. And I love when I find examples of something like this where companies are not only trying to cater to a market that is not typically catered to, but also to try to give back and help by taking some of their proceeds and helping those who might not otherwise get the opportunity to do something such as skateboard and give them that opportunity. And also to give them a shoe that is comfortable but they also feel good in. The final story today comes from The Guardian. Lucy Hughes, 23, a recent graduate in product design from the University of Sussex, sought to tackle the dual problems of environmentally harmful single-use plastics and inefficient waste streams by harnessing fish offcuts to create an eco-friendly plastic alternative. Her solution: a biodegradable and compostable material called Marinatex can break down in a soil environment in 4 to 6 weeks and be disposed of through home food waste collections. Hughes from Twickenham in southwest London used red algae to bind proteins extracted from fish skins and scales, creating strong overlapping bonds in a translucent and flexible sheet material. Although it looks and feels like plastic, initial testing suggests it's stronger and safer and much more sustainable than its oil-based counterpart. An estimated 492,020 tons of fish waste are produced by the fish processing industry every year in the UK, and it is considered a huge and inefficient waste stream with low commercial value. Through research carried out on the Sussex coast, Hughes found fish skins and scales were the most promising sources for the plastic alternative due to their flexibility and strength-enabling proteins. A single Atlantic cod could generate the organic waste needed for 1,400 bags of Marinatex, she found. Quote, "Plastic is an amazing material, and as a result, we have become too reliant on it as designers and engineers," Hughes said. "It makes no sense that we're using plastic, an incredibly durable material, for products that have a life cycle of less than a day. For me, Marinatex represents a commitment to material innovation and selection by incorporating sustainable, local, and circular values into design. As creators, we should not limit ourselves to designing to just form and function, but rather form, function, and footprint." And I had not heard about that story at all, but I think it's rather interesting and promising, the fact that she can take basically fish waste that they're just tossing out and doesn't really have a use, and convert that into a better, more sustainable plastic material. While it's not plastic itself, it's a similar, even stronger type of material, and I think that's a good thing to be finding alternatives, because I know all the time now you hear about single-use plastic and not using plastic bottles and straws because they just don't break down and are not doing good things for our earth. So the fact that she's found a biodegradable alternative, I think, is a great thing. I hope that this was a nice distraction for you and gave you a little bit more positivity and good news in your day. I would love to know about any positive news stories that you've heard about that I may not have mentioned, and be sure to leave them down in the comments so that we can all enjoy them. Thank you for watching. I hope that I've made your day a little brighter, and I'll see you next time. Bye!